Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to see so many new people today. And this chalice lighting ritual is one of the few rituals that Unitarian Universalists have. But we like to think that we're short on ritual, long on action. So here we will be lighting our chalice along with other UU communities throughout the world. So please join us in reading these chalice lighting words by the Reverend Erica Hewitt, to be a Unitarian Universalist. To be a Unitarian Universalist means we'll never be done with the work of telling the truth about oppression, the work of resisting any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity. The work of stubbornly seeking out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what. The work of creating heaven on earth. To be a Unitarian Universalist also means that we're not alone in the work. We're not alone because of our promises to love one another. We are not alone because we are companions on the journey. We grow ourselves into allies, helping one another get free, because none of us is truly free until we are all free. May the light of this chalice light our way. And now Dave has a reading for us before he introduces our guest speaker.
The reading is an excerpt from The Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire, who advocated a revolutionary program for education and liberation amongst the oppressed people of the world. The reading. It is only the oppressed who, by freeing themselves, can free their oppressors. The latter, as an oppressor class, can free neither others nor themselves. Certain members of the oppressor class join the oppressed in their struggles for liberation, but they almost always bring with them the marks of their origin, their prejudices, their deformations, which include lack of confidence, people's ability to know, to want, and to think. Conversion to the people requires a profound rebirth. A profound rebirth. I think he's talking about us as white folks trying to help the oppressed, but we need the profound rebirth. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, someone I know quite well. Joanne retired after a long and varied nursing career as an educator. We're having some technical difficulties here. As an educator, clinical nurse specialist, and federal surveyor. I get a break from the scripted words here because speaking of her career as long and varied, it reminds me that the passion and values she put in her nursing career very much mirror the way she is an activist. And I would say that her career was not only long and varied, but distinguished. Just 3 examples. As a student nurse, Joanne was chosen as the Student Nurse of the Year for the state of Washington. As a nursing educator, she co-authored a nursing textbook that won the American Journal of Nursing Book of the Year Award. And back out in the field, practicing in Seattle, King County area. She was chosen as the King County Nursing Association Nurse of the Year. So Joanne has always, with her passion and values, been a doer and a person who walks the talk. Now I'll return to the script. In 2015, Joe and I moved to El Granada from Seattle after the birth of our granddaughter. As new co-siders in August 2015, we attended the very first meeting of UUCC, and we've been active ever since. Joanne enjoys time spent with our daughter, son-in-law, our two granddaughters, as well as tutoring and a variety of other volunteer activities, particularly with Faith in Action Bay Area.
I am very happy to be with you today. In his sermon 2 weeks ago, Ron Aaron emphasized that now is not a time for a passive faith. Instead, we need to live our UU principles through activism. St. Paul reminds us that faith without works is dead. And Thich Nhat Hanh goes further when he emphasizes the need to integrate spirituality and activism. Not only is spirituality alone empty and isolated, but activism alone can be fueled by anger rather than by love. There are many kinds of activism, but today I invite you to learn about activism with Faith in Action Bay Area and why it has become important in my life. So let me begin with just a bit of my journey. Remember 2016 when Donald Trump was elected? Our collective, how could this have happened? Our fear for the future of the country. Well, in the Latino community, that fear was personal. Would they or someone they loved be stopped by ICE in the early morning hours? Would they or someone they loved be deported because they lacked papers? Like many other Anglos, I took rapid response training to protect undocumented members of our community. The idea was that anyone undocumented who saw ICE should call the No Migra hotline. We Anglo rapid responders would be notified and go to the location of the call. Was this an actual ICE raid or a false alarm? If yes, we would stay a witness and record all abusive ICE actions. The No Migra hotline was answered by staff of Faith in Action Bay Area, and for years I thought that was all they did. I was wrong. So what did I learn? I learned that Faith in Action Bay Area encompasses groups throughout San Mateo and San Francisco counties. Our local group is Coastside Faith in Action. We join with other local groups for county-wide meetings. Similar organizations throughout the state comprise PICO, California, which stands for Pacific Institute for Community Organizing. Faith in Action Bay Area and PICO are networks of multi-faith, multiracial, multilingual, intergenerational, and cross-class community organizers. They are guided by those most affected by injustice and committed to securing the rights of everyone living in our communities. Wow, that's a mouthful. So let's unpack. First, faith-based is a very broad tent representing many faith traditions: Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Buddhist, and yes, Unitarian. What draws us together is the shared value that all people are worthy and have the right to a safe and dignified human existence, and that we have a moral responsibility to join those struggling as they journey toward a just society. Notice how these values mesh with our Unitarian Universalist principles. So consider the fit: inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. PICO states its mission as catalyzing faith-based and spiritually centered people power in California to create systemic change for the most vulnerable so that all Californians thrive. Well, there's another mouthful. There's more to unpack. Why systemic change? Matthew Desmond, in the 2023 book, Poverty by America, asks, how could there be such bold scarcity amid such waste and opulence? Consider this. San Mateo County is the richest county in the United States. The richest county in the entire country. In 2023, the area median income for a family of four in San Mateo County is $175,000. For an individual, that's $122,500. But what does a farm worker, restaurant worker, or retail clerk on the coast side earn? A generous estimate is $35,000 a year. A first-year teacher in the Cabrillo district, $58,000 a year. Yet the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in San Mateo County is over $2,700 a month. To afford that one-bedroom apartment and stay within 30% of income, an individual would need an annual income of $94,545. Have I made the point? We have a vast income disparity in San Mateo County and an enormous problem with housing. And this is true throughout California. We need a different system, a system that serves everyone. We need a moral economy. Joseph McKellar, the executive director of PICO California, asserts that housing is proxy for the entire California economy. Thus, housing has become the primary focus for Faith in Action Bay Area and for the entire PICO network. PICO puts it like this: we believe home is a sacred right. Every family deserves a safe, secure home without fear of unjust eviction or excessive rent increases. Equity and a system that works for everybody is not the interest of powerful opponents with plenty of money. Well, Faith in Action Bay Area and PICO can't fight with money, but we have people. Instead of money talks, we need to build people power. So how do we get more people? That's where community organizing comes in. The major feature of faith-based community organizing is that it is led by people who are marginalized and vulnerable. They identify the issues. They identify the actions. Faith in Action Bay Area describes this method of organizing in its organizing cycle. And this cycle always begins with listening to the people who are impacted or marginalized. As we listen, problems come to the surface. And with some research, these problems are gradually refined into specific issues and precise demands. And then it's time for action. Afterwards, reflection. What did and what didn't work? And rinse and repeat. This is foreign for all of us in our Coastside group. As Anglos, we're used to assuming we know what's needed and identifying the solution. And now we're told that those living the issue will lead, and the rest of us must step back. This is radical. Radical. If it isn't our issue, we're not in charge. We follow, we accompany, we are co-conspirators. Another Faith in Action member puts it this way. Imagine a group of Spanish-speaking people walking down a long road. The pavement's uneven and there are dead ends and detours. They are hungry and thirsty and tired, but they will not give up until they reach their goal. So we're driving alongside in our car, handing out snacks and bottles of water. When asked, we use our English to translate their questions to other English-speaking people, and we continually cheer them on. In our opening words, Paulo Freire says he challenges us by saying we can't change ourselves or others, but that by joining those who are struggling, we ourselves become free. So this then is part of our work together, to learn how to listen, how to let go of our biases and assumptions, and to let go of our white savior mentality, to have a rebirth. This is ongoing work, and it's hard to learn. Trust me, it's really hard not to jump in with solutions, with great ideas. I often misstep, and yet I persist. Why? Well, first, I've come to believe that only the people impacted by a problem truly know what they need and how to get it. They are the experts. By walking alongside, continually showing up, we build relationships and people power over time. And that's what it's going to take. People, lots of connections and relationships. And over time, I believe this is how to create lasting. Second, although charity is absolutely essential, I do believe that charity alone won't solve the underlying problem. Sister Helen Prejean states, being kind in an unjust system is not enough. And Lynn Twist, in The Soul of Money, clarifies that charity becomes complete when it's actively working to change the systems that put resources into the hands of some at the expense of others. Changing the system is the work of Faith in Action, Bay Area. This work is slow. It's painfully slow. Poet Marge Piercy says, connections are made slowly. Sometimes they grow underground. You cannot tell always by looking what is happening. More than half a tree is spread out in the soil under your feet. You cannot tell what's happening by just looking. Third, I also believe in the UU principle of everyone's worth and dignity. A feeling of shame can come from poverty and needing to accept handouts, even when they're given with respect. Being in charge, having agency, gives dignity. And now I'm going to break the sermon writing rule of 3, because there's more. As stated in the chalice lighting, none of us is truly free until we're all free. And Tolstoy says, we imagine that their sufferings are one thing and our life another. Well, in one sense, that's true. I do this work in my life. For those impacted, it is their life. In another sense, it's not true. Our lives are intertwined in so many ways. During her testimonies, a member of the Allah's Affordable Housing Committee has often repeated, we are the people who clean your houses, take care of your children, grow the vegetables you eat. What would happen if we all left? Indeed. In the book, A Different Drummer, Melvin Kelly depicts a mythical southern town in which the Black laborers are mistreated and exploited by the powerful white town leaders. After a lynching, one Black man has had enough. He burns his tiny home, burns his crops, and slaughters his animals, and then he and his family walk away. All the other Blacks follow. Could that happen here? Well, this week, the same ALAS member testified to the Half Moon Bay City Council that she knew personally of 5 families who had recently moved away. One last thing. Lila Watson, the Indigenous Australian activist, says, "If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together." This statement has been really hard for me. And as I continue to chew on it, I have come to realize that there is a liberation in this work that is deeply personal for me. Something about how I want to live my last years and what I want to be able to say to myself at the end of my life. I want to know that despite the staggering problems facing our current world, I made the decision to hope, to act. As Jane Goodall in the Book of Hope puts it, hope is not wishful thinking. It requires us to work hard to make what we want to happen actually happen. And all of that's enough to me. But now I invite you to think about how this work might be a fit for you and resonate with your values. There are many ways to be involved. Locally, we join members of the ALAS Housing Committee who have asked us to speak out for affordable housing and rental protections and to join them on their monthly marches. We join county-wide Faith in Action members in work toward improving renter protections. And at the state level, we join PICO in their Home is Sacred campaign as they push for housing legislation. On April 20th, 650 of us joined PICO in Sacramento to lobby our state legislators to pass the Homelessness Prevention Act. Just before we got back onto our buses to travel home, we all sang "This Little Light of Mine." And after the first round, we were led in changing the lyrics to "Home is Sacred. Let us organize." El hogar es sagrado, vamos organizar. El hogar es sagrado, vamos organizar. El hogar es sagrado, vamos organizar. Organizar, organizar, organizar. Let us join together and shine our lights for equity and justice for all who inhabit our community.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world,
closing words today come from the book Stand Up, How to Get Involved, Speak Out, and Win in a World on Fire by Gordon Whitman. Whitman is the Deputy Director of the National Faith in Action. We don't get to a better world by trying to help other people. We do it by walking together. Our capacity to talk with one another is the most reliable tool we have for changing the world. We need to engage in dialogue with people if we want to see them develop into leaders or to build organizations that can persist against powerful foes. Conversations take time and can be difficult. They're powerful because they create a pool of shared meaning that makes it possible for people to think together. Social change boils down to building durable human relationships that make it possible for large numbers of people to act with power and purpose.
Shall overcome someday.